Sarah. Today we are going to be doing a chat with our lovely guest speaker, Charlie, about autism and discrimination. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to invite Charlie through. Um, so I'll just wait for her to come on. Just so you know that neither of us are medical practitioners, and nothing that we say today is intended as medical advice. It's just for awareness purposes only. I'm just going to wait for her to jump on. There we go. Are you there?
Hello?
Are you there?
Yeah, I don't know, I can only see you, I can't see me.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure it out.
Okay. You do that, I'll just get my headphones on.
Okay. So just also letting people know that I'm actually visually impaired. So unfortunately, trying to get technology to work can be a little bit difficult.
Oh, take your time. This is disability friendly, love. It's so fine.
So unfortunately, it's not letting me turn on your camera. So it's only letting me do audio only. Is that all right?
Yeah. Is there anything I can do to fix that?
No, that's on my side.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm going to have to figure out how to do it because it did it last time as well.
All good.
Yeah.
No problem. No problem.
Okay, so I've just explained that we're going to be doing a chat about autism and discrimination today. So I was wondering if you could possibly just give us a bit of an introduction about yourself.
Yeah, well, my name's Charlie, and I'm they, them, and I have autism. So if I'm talking a bit slowly and umming and ahhing, just bear with me, everybody. I also manage. So I don't know how the terminology is; it all changes. But how I refer to it is I'm autistic, and I manage complex post-traumatic stress disorder and borderline personality disorder.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us. So I know that today we're wanting to talk about autism and discrimination. Would you be able to give us some introduction to your life, starting with your autism?
Well, to be honest with you, I've only just recently been diagnosed, and I'm 54. But I did, and I was quite busy from the age of 40 managing the other diagnosis. So I probably didn't have time for autism. So I'm kind of relieved. I just needed 15 years to get those two under control. But I always thought I'd be at work and I'm pretty sure I'm autistic. So even in my 20s and 30s, when I had a career, I worked in public relations for government, quite high level, like writing speeches for the Premier. At the time, it was Bob Carr. So, yeah, I'm old, everybody. Older.
I was going to say, you're not old.
No. But, TikTok. I'm TikTok old. But, yeah, I was always like, the office was always very complicated because I was good at work and I'm very good at systems and I'm very good at and obviously working in social justice. That was because I worked for the Equal Opportunity Commission or the Victorian Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Commission, always in marketing communications. But what I didn't understand, I'm like, there's something weird about me. And but it's weird. I always thought, I'm sure I'm autistic, but no one ever picked it up until this year.
And so how was it when you finally got that diagnosis? Was it something that was almost like a weight off your shoulders, or how did it feel when you finally got that diagnosis?
Well, great. I mean, I had a lot of shame around borderline personality disorder. Like the shame was, we can talk about that another time, but yeah, with the complex post-traumatic stress disorder, I wasn't ashamed because my dad was in the Navy and my grandfather was in the Army. A lot of respect for that. So there was, but I still had to learn how to manage it. It certainly put me in some hairy, didn't really want to be that person. But with autism, I'm like, oh, I love it. I was so, like, I feel, thank you. But I also, this year I sort of was, because I also, I think I'd say agoraphobia. I think it's called, anyway, I don't leave the house. So this year I put myself out there and started to do a few meetups. And I met other people who were autistic on different levels. There's a whole spectrum, and it was through talking to them, and then and also meeting other people. And oh my God! So I went to my psychologist when I really actually think I'm autistic, and we talked, and they're like, yeah, because just the fact I need to wear earphones. I couldn't work out. Okay, I've got all these other things under control. Why am I still hypersensitive to noise? Why am I hypersensitive to, I do not like people coming into my space? Like, I know you could say it's PTSD, but I'm like, no, it's not. There's something else happening here. I'm not understanding, and I'm lonely. People they like me for about a minute, and then the more they get to know me, they don't like me because I'm blunt. So I'm kind of happy with that. But I still love the diagnosis. I'm not unhappy with it. It's quite freeing.
So it was just like all of a sudden everything kind of fell into place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it was also a lot of grief, heaps of grief, because my career was important to me, but because you can't live in life unless you can, not in a neurotypical space. Neurotypicals, relationships are really important. Connecting, having, even, like you have to pretend that you like something, even if you hate it at work. Well, I can't do that. I've never been able to do that. So people would just look at me, you're rude, would just feel that and I wasn't being rude. It would break my heart. I'm like, no, I really like you. It's just, I'm not going to pretend. In neurotypical world, that is rude. Especially in marketing and PR. Oh my God, no wonder I'm very good at putting on events, and I'm very good at mapping things out and being strategic.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good at the superficial stuff. But that I remember, I wasn't so good at pretending.
Yeah.
You got to pretend a lot of PR. There's a lot of BS in the, and it's exhausting. So,
So, when you do your meetups, because I know that you're saying that with autism it's quite a large spectrum, do you find that with the meetups that you're able to communicate with each other quite well?
I feel like, because there's a lot of people have ADHD as well. I don't have, that's not something, but I have people, I've had partners who've had it, and it's interesting. I always used to feel, wow, I'm getting a lot of people who have ADHD who really like me. I'm on the spectrum where I am quite outgoing, and if you meet me now, this is the problem. Everyone, look at this person, they're charming and they're funny, and I want to be their best friend, and I'm like, no. Like, to be my best friend, you're going to have to know me at least a year.
Yeah.
I'm not masking. I like people, but there's depths. And so what about, I feel like anyone who's on neuro, I did wonder before I got my diagnosis, why do people who are very shy or a bit awkward like me, because I am a bit out there, but they would say, well, we feel safe around you. There was just something I've always been, that's why I created the group. But it's hard because they all have different needs. And I must admit, I mean, I've had to take a step back from the meetups because people are wanting a lot more than I can give them. And it doesn't matter how many boundaries you put in.
Yeah.
Because there's no support out there for people. And they're just I am not an expert. My degree is in public relations, and I got a bachelor degree in women's studies, architecture and history. So I am not the expert in people's feelings, emotions. I am not a counsellor. Yeah. But I'm learning. Not that, but I'm learning how to just but yes, I do. But I do. Even my plumber the other day said, just people will admit it to me. I'm like, yeah, you didn't have to tell me. I know. You know, it's all good. Neurotypicals don't like me. Anybody that's, I'm struggling in life gets on with me well.
Yeah. Because there's that safe space.
Yeah, I'm not judging.
Yeah.
I actually have more problem with neurotypicals.
Yeah.
They drive me. Yeah. And then, I'm probably judged. Yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah. That could be my CPDSD. I don't know. But I have all those. I don't know. There's a lot of. I'm not the expert. So would you like me just to explain how it turns up for me?
Absolutely. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So how it turns up for me is justice. And that's problematic because I have this. So when you're in a workplace, as soon as I walk in, I'm quite hypervigilant. I'm looking for all the injustice, which is not great. And then I'm usually, because I'm quite smart and I probably do know how to do things, so I'm really good at telling the boss how smart I am and how much better I can do it than them. Let's just say I don't get to keep in that job. I'm also get very frustrated when systems don't work.
Right.
And that is problematic. It still is, even with my housing. So I'm trying to learn how to make change and advocate for change without pissing everyone off. But I'm still learning that.
Yeah.
I do not like just sitting at a desk with nothing to do. That makes me incredibly agitated. If somebody is rude to me, and obviously we talk about toxic workplaces all the time.
Yeah.
I cannot just mask it and go and cry. I will start arguing with that person and go, no, that's not fair. I'm constantly throwing the Equal Opportunity Act at people work and HR are like, okay, we need to get rid of this person.
Right, okay.
So even though I'm very good at what I do, I'm a pain in the ass. And I admit it. So that's why I'm on a disability pension. And even as a volunteer, I'm usually, because the problem with me is I am actually pretty good at what I do, but I don't understand that you don't say that. You need to just, and I don't understand hierarchies. I hate hierarchies. Why can't I talk to that person? Who cares?
Yeah.
But that actually is good though, because working in marketing, when I was consulting in PR, that worked for me because it means I made things happen, and it works for me now. Just to be positive, I'm meeting with the city of Melbourne next week about some possible projects, and I did that because I'm not afraid to ask people. I don't care if you're the bloody CEO I'm asking you a question. So I'm pretty good at. So it comes in handy.
Yeah.
If managed in a way that's respectful to the other person, and understanding, you just learn. Okay, there's a structure, and I mean that's the thing I have to do all the time. Go, hey, wait a minute, what's the reality here? So. I don't use it as an excuse to be horrible. I don't like that. I do like manners.
Yes.
But sometimes I accidentally step on toes. And I don't mean to. It's not like I really, honestly, I'm like, it's not, I don't mean to be rude. That's the frustrating thing.
It's not intentional.
No, I really like people. And I get so upset when I find out they don't like me. But, well, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah, so along the way, have you come across issues with discrimination and advocacy?
Well, yes. So when I was working, I was working from, let me think, 1990 to 2010. And I would have things like a manager would go, your face doesn't match your actions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have had people say that. That was a manager. This was now that was ironic because it was in a government agency, and they had a whole week of putting on things for Mental Health Week and awareness. They spent all this money. And when I said, oh, well, look, I have a disability. Now, I didn't know I had autism, but I did know I had post-traumatic stress disorder. And I said, well, that's probably because of my, can I be put into a quieter pod? Like, because I found it very hard because the pods, there's 4 of us all squished together.
Right.
And I just couldn't work, but I didn't understand why I couldn't work. But I thought, I think I'm just getting too overwhelmed. And I got fired from my contract the next week. And this is the week of the Mental Health Week because I was on a contract. Every time I have had and I have receipts obviously because Centrelink has it. I've been fired from contracts. As soon as I ask for an adjustment at work, my contract ends. And then I end up in a big fight with them. Yeah, it's terrible. And I ended up going, I can't do this because I'd advocate for myself.
Yeah.
I'd ask for an adjustment, not an unreasonable adjustment, just look, could I sit somewhere quiet? They would argue back. Like, the thing is with employment is they're like, no, we know best. The problem with work is managers know best and they want to control you. But you can't do that. You can't control a neurodivergent person. It is impossible, So rather than just work with us, and if employees learn how to work with us, I was told by other managers, you're such a good worker. I would sit down and I would do my work because I didn't want to gossip. I didn't want to socialize, and I just wanted to do my work. I loved that. And also the boring jobs, I really didn't mind those either. I found them really good. The ones where you get to enter lots of data.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that all the time. And, I've got a PR degree. I'm smart, but I'm not, it's not below me to have a break from the more complicated stuff and do that kind of stuff. So once I did my complicated stuff, I go, do you have something boring for me to do? But again, there's that hierarchy thing. Oh, you mustn't care about your career. And like, no, I'm bored. I've done everything. I'm waiting for an approval. Even if your job is PR or marketing, there's still stuff to do. Like, you've got a database to clean up. It's admin. Admin's with every job.
So, and you're using your initiative.
Yeah, always. I was always looking for work. But that kind of didn't work for me because you have to actually use that time to go and gossip and go and drink with people, and you have to form alliances. And I'm like, well, that's not going to. But I was working for, I'm going to say them because I'm not worried about this organisation. So, the public trustee?
Yeah. And we
all go, boo. So I ended up in a contract there. Now, I was naive at this time. I did not understand they were a boo.
Yeah.
Like, being autistic, I read the marketing material and I'm like, oh, okay. So I believe this crap that they sell to us. I've had to remind myself, they're just conning you. This is a con.
Yeah.
So just because they've got disabled people and they're all fluffy, they are not fluffy. They are sharks. They are. So anyway, I went in. I started this job, and And there was this one person who would come up to me and constantly want to feed me cake. And I would say, I don't want cake. Now, at that time, I was very into my physical exercise. It was part of my, I was very fit. Also, that helped me with my symptoms. And also, I knew eating lots of sugar. I was very, very clear about what I put in my body to help with my symptoms.
Right, okay.
That's how I managed that and work. And this person kept trying to feed me. And I'm like, no. And that became a huge issue. All the women, like it was all women. I'm sorry, I'm not sexist, of course, but let's just say there's a sexism within women groups. Yeah. Because the sexism within women's group is you've got to be nice, you have to smile, you must eat the food we feed you. We are going to mother you. If you don't accept the mothering, there's something wrong with you. And I was like, going, no, I just believe. And then, I got to the point where they would not invite me. Now, I did tell them I had a disability. I talked to my manager. I said, look, could I talk about this to the group so they can stop treating me like this? And my manager goes, oh, no, that would make it awkward. I'm like, yeah, but we're at the public trustee. Like, we're here for people with disabilities. I would say that makes no sense. Like, our clients have a disability. Why would I feel ashamed about that?
Absolutely,
The reason is they're all lawyers and they're all finance people. And then so they wouldn't invite me to their morning tea. The managers would all ignore me in the morning. They basically just completely isolated me. I did go up to one junior manager and she yelled at me and said, well, you just shamed me in front of my boss. She just screamed at me.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I didn't mean that. I'm trying to tell you I have a disability. And she took that as me trying to shame her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and just screamed at me like.
And it's all just because you didn't fit into their box.
Yeah. And I ended up, after that, I just went downhill. And that was probably the last time I had a full-time job. And then I just found myself in all these weird contract jobs. But the same thing would keep happening.
Yeah.
The manager I would start pushing back about training. That's another thing. Every job you go into, there's not enough training or the training's wrong. And me being me would go, hey, wait a minute, but in training, you told me this.
Yeah.
I got fired because I spoke up about that.
It sounds very familiar.
Yeah, I don't think I'm alone.
It's very common in the Spoony community, with the trying to get work adjustments, even minor ones, and then all of a sudden they'll change your contract, and then you'll go from having a permanent contract and they'll try to get you onto casual, and then full well what happens when the moment they put you on casual is your job's gone. So it's quite common, because you're not fitting into their box of what they want. It's almost like we come across as needy when really we're not. We're able to do the job. We're just asking for a minor adjustment so we're able to do our job, in a way that we can.
Yeah, they look at it as a power struggle. Now, I dated somebody that worked in HR. We won't get into that too much. I talk a lot about that. So anybody can go into my bio, my LinkedIn, and I talk about my story, yes, because abuse seems to happen a lot in relationships, work. Anyway. Phone calls, because they were always on their phone in the car. And someone would ring and they've obviously people are vulnerable and they're like, look, I have a disability. And we're not talking about white collar work. We're talking about factory work that someone with a disability, might be okay with, because, or picking, when you work in those big places and you pick stuff and you put it. I actually did that for 4 weeks and I loved that job because I was moving and all I had to do was pick all the, and I could do it to the time. I like the fact there was a time thing and no one bothered me and I was fit.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, they would pick up the phone as soon as this, and they're like, oh, that's okay. And they would pretend they cared and that person. And then my ex would look at me, oh, I'm not going to give them a job. We
Oh,
don't
really?
employ people. So I've heard, and I know that, and through them I met other HR recruiters, and they're very openly like, nah. So that is the reality, and I've learned to accept that reality. But what gets up my grid is when because I've got an invisible disability.
Yeah.
So people look at me, and because I present well, and people will look at me going, why are you on it? You don't have a disability.
Yeah.
And and I think a lot of people who have hidden disabilities get that. And I'm like, well, if you guys made it easier for us to work, I'd work. But you've made it impossible. And that's not on me,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I know that one all too well. And I've also noticed on your channel that even going into shops, the way you're treated in shops, because you're not neurotypical. And so people, when, they get in your space, that the way that they react is quite nasty. And because I think I actually did a response video to yours.
Yes.
Yeah. So does that happen quite often when you go out?
Yeah, it does. So I go to, it happens where I live. It even happens with people. I'm just going to be careful how I say this. There is someone in my community who is, I think, well, they're visibly disabled. I'm trying to be polite.
Yeah.
So, and they're an advocate. They tell everyone. But if they get upset if I don't say hello to them. Now, because of my autism, this is one way it will present. My eyes are on the ground. I do not like I'll have my earphones on. I just do not have the energy. I do not really want to talk to people.
Yeah.
I don't want to form a relationship. And I'm talking about like as a person just living in the world. And they get so upset at me, and I'll go, look, I'm neurodivergent. And then one day when I asked them and I'm always like, would you mind? They also talk quite loudly outside my door. So I said, and I was talking to my psychologist online. So I poked my head out. So my psychologist heard me, and I went, oh, would you mind could you just take the conversation away from my door? So they ended up screaming at me, I'm sick of your neurodivergent, your F and this and just abused the crap out of me. Now, this is someone who's an advocate in the disabled space. And they pop up in my feed because they're being used as a spokesperson. Now, I know they're in their 60s and maybe they don't understand, but that's when it hit me, just like with the queer community, there are hierarchies.
Yeah.
And every time I put in a boundary, and it's usually the same sort of person. Now, I'm 54, but I'm always shocked by this. If it's a younger person, they seem a bit better at it, but someone maybe in their later 50s gets so angry. You didn't smile at me. And that's sexist. Why should I smile at you? Men are not expected to smile.
Yeah.
You didn't say hello. Well, I've got earphones. See these big, massive things on my head?
You're wearing them for a reason.
Yes. I have women, so will be a day in my life. I'll be walking now I do have a cute dog, so I've got so people obviously, so they just come up and they're, I love your dog, and I can't hear them. My face is down and I'm looking up and they're just talking at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do I need a sign? Like, please don't come into my space.
Yeah.
Like a dog, you know how dogs have not friendly?
Yep.
But I am friendly. I don't want to say that. Just need space.
But it's sad that you even have to try to consider that, even as something to laugh at, that people can't kind of put two and two together, that if you've got your headphones on and you're looking down, you clearly are not wanting to be open and socialize with people. You're actually closing yourself off,
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm managing my anxiety. I'm managing whatever's happening, because inside it's just like, not a volcano, but just this weird, let's just keep it under control. Let's just keep it, and my life's great, but for some reason I am all over the place. So I need to, like, even just, I had tradespeople coming this week. That exhausted me. Like, just that concept that someone was going to come to my house and be in the house. That's 2 days I had to sleep that off.
Wow, yeah.
And they were lovely. They were lovely. It's not personal, people. But the other thing that happened, so I had to change gyms because obviously this neighbour of mine has upset me so badly. Because obviously they're an advocate. That really distresses me, and the fact that they screamed at me and dissed me. They don't feel that my disability is worthy of respect.
Oh, wow.
So theirs is. So there's this competition. I'm in a wheelchair, so you just shut up, you.
Hot kettle black.
Yes, don't worry. Look, I can't. It's okay because you know what? Disabled people can be assholes as well. Are we allowed to swear on TikTok or not?
Oh, go for it.
Okay. I don't want to get you banned.
No, it's all good. Go for it.
Okay. TikTok's weird. I don't understand it. Anyway, but I that's okay. It would be ableist of me to say, oh, well, that person must be perfect. So that's fine. She's just imperfect. So I've got to work around that. And what I have to do now is I got a bike and now I go to another gym because they saw me at my gym all the time. So there was nowhere I cannot get away from this person.
Yeah.
Because they're like me. They need the same resources. So I'm like, okay, I'll just cycle. So I started going to another gym and I found the same problem. I would say to someone, oh, could I have some space? It would be an older woman and like, no. So I'd get early, set it all up. And the place will be empty and they will just set up there. And this happened like 4 times with 4 different people.
Oh, wow.
So then I got yelled at. I got a woman literally just started arguing with me in front of the whole. I said, look, I've got a disability. I just need some space. I don't care. Look, this is my space. So people just argue. There's no point me saying anything. It puts me in danger. So I went to the council and I went and met the guy who's a disability planner, lovely guy.
Yeah.
Because when I went to the gym, I chose it because it's got a sign that says not all disabilities, you can't see all disabilities.
Yeah.
So I said to him, I said, you've put that sign up and made me feel safe. So why isn't there more signage? Like, what are you doing with the sun? I didn't say it like that. I was nice about it.
Yeah.
Because I actually I'm not completely stupid. I just said, hey, what about spending some money on the sunflower campaign? You know, the Sunflower Foundation?
Yeah.
Putting up some posters so I can wear a lanyard and my big sunflower and I don't have to say anything. Because at the moment, I show people that and they just look at me and keep arguing. They don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I said, it's a gym. We're all trapped in a room. Posters to me seems like a very easy thing. And then you could do some social media. You know, it's not a hard thing to promote. I think Yarra Trams is promoting it. It's, you know, let's do that. And he goes, well, it's good you talk to me because I've been wondering whether I'm going to spend money and budget on this. And I went, oh, yeah, you definitely need to do that. And you definitely need to also do it, not just with them, but across anybody where there's customer service, where there's people.
Yeah.
Just shopping centres, everything. Because then we can wear our lanyards, you know, and they're going to do it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and the YMCA rang me and had a good chat, and they said, no, you're not wrong. Sorry, I just mentioned the YMCA, but anyway, they got lots of gyms. They're good. They're good. They said, look, we're so sorry, but that time of class that you go, they are the strongest, loudest people.
Right.
Because it's in the morning. It's people that don't work, people like myself, who have probably, I don't know, I guess it's more like older people with disabilities, you know, people that are retired. And they said they're the hardest. They are the ones. They have strong ideas
Yeah.
And they said yes. And so that was good because they validated my experience. So like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so they're going to start work with the council. So the council and the gym are working together.
Oh, that's good.
And yeah. So I'm pretty happy about but that's my life. And it's a bit lonely.
Yeah.
Bit misunderstood.
Mm.
Because I am fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
So what kind of advice could you give somebody who interacts with someone who is not neurotypical?
Oh, sorry. Could you ask that again?
What advice could you give somebody who is neurotypical in regards to communicating with somebody who's neurodivergent?
I would say, and I think this is just good for everybody, don't take things personally.
Yeah.
People, I mean, unless someone is swearing at you or being really aggressive, but if they're just being a bit odd or off, it's not about you. Like, everybody communicates differently. And I think we're at a stage in life, like, we know that. Like, obviously, we're dealing with people where English is a second language.
Yeah.
All workplaces do training around cultural diversity, but we also need to understand that just because someone doesn't want to talk to you doesn't make them a monster. And I think I think there needs to be more resilience in our community. People are very sensitive. And that, to me, is like, we're in public. You're going to have to accept that not everyone's going to like you, or not everyone will like you differently. I did have one person who invited me somewhere, and I didn't know this person. But because they had invited me to their birthday party, they said, but aren't we really good friends now? And I'm like, no, not yet.
Yeah.
I didn't get to talk to you at the birthday party. And they were very upset with me. But the thing is, that's unrealistic expectations. And we really want to rush into friendships. We really want to rush into this intimacy. And though I do suffer with loneliness, I'm not going to pretend I don't. I am also extremely mindful and self-sufficient, because I'd rather spend time getting to know somebody than I like a person. And I said, I like you. I like it when I see you.
Yeah.
But just because I spent $100 at your birthday party doesn't mean we're besties. No. So I would say, instead of getting angry and outraged and crying and going, I'm a loser, go, just understand. I don't know. It's a deep inner strength people need to learn to hear each other, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without being offended. And I'm not perfect. I've been offended, but I'm pretty good now. Like, even if someone's having a breakdown on the street, you know how people stop and stare at people?
Yes.
Who are having a mental breakdown?
Yes.
And I'll just look at them and go, there's nothing to see here. Off you go.
Just leave them be.
People,
yeah.
Yeah, and filming people.
Oh, that drives me nuts. It's so rude and belittling, and it's just, just making a mockery of that person, and putting them down, and it's humiliating.
Yeah, and I think, people need to understand, just because you feel good today and you're feeling superior, I know that everybody goes home, even if they're neurotypical.
Yeah.
And it's going, oh, did that person like me? What did that person mean by that? Everybody just, it's like, you're not perfect. Within you, there is also struggle. So don't, because some people you're better at masking it. It makes me very angry, because anyone in that state, there's a trauma. And it's sort of like how people talk about Indigenous things. I'm not an expert in that, but that makes me angry as well. You do not understand anything. And there is a lot of that kind of judging. Or when, that person had a breakdown at the airport and she's crying with her and everyone's savaging her. And I'm like, that person is triggered. They're having a breakdown.
Yeah.
and everyone, oh, look at her, they're a bully. You don't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, their behavior just, I'm so scared one day I'm going to find myself. If you see me on TikTok, don't judge me, people.
Yeah.
I've just got that fear. I have two fears. The fear that someone's going to film me if I do have a CPTSD. It hasn't happened in a while, but you never know.
Yeah.
Or when I'm old, like in my 80s and 90s, and I go somewhere on my own, I'm going to be filmed and someone's going to be, oh, look at that. An old woman going to, how beautiful, how sad.
Yeah.
Young people filming old people. Going, oh, how sweet. I hate them.
Yeah, I had an experience where because as you know, I'm blind. I'm legally blind, and so I still like to try to go places on my own because I'm recently just starting to leave the house from agoraphobia myself, and so I have this place I love to go because I know my way around, and I have PTSD as well, and I was going down the street and I was almost where I needed to go, and these two people got into this huge fight on the street, and they were yelling and screaming, and it triggered me, and I just started screaming. And I have a sign on the front of my walking frame saying visually impaired, so that people know that I can't see where I am and that I may need help. And out of all the people that was standing around, one person ended up coming up and asking if I needed help to get somewhere. Because they were worried that I was going to get caught up with it because I didn't know whether to move or not. But yeah, there were all these people standing around, and out of all these people, only one person ended up coming, and she had a newborn baby in a pram.
Yeah, well, it's always the stressed out people that get it.
Yeah. So that spoke volumes. So yeah.
And then you're like scared because, God, if some kid is filming it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, so I think there's all that stuff as well. But I think I don't really I can talk from a workplace structural. I'm better at that. I'm not so great with people.
Yeah.
But from a structural point of view, that to me, I am still, like, I did work for on the Human Rights Charter in 2006. So why are we still here?
Yeah.
Why isn't it getting any better?
Exactly.
Why does it feel like it's getting worse?
Absolutely.
And why is it all being done by Labor, who is meant to be progressive and working class? And,
yeah,
you know, our Prime Minister's, like, I lived in Housing Commission with a mentally ill mother too.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't mean I go and shaft everyone. I hate how people use this narrative to get votes.
Yeah.
Oh, I am, you know, look at me, the poster boy for Housing Commission and Disability, and they've made NDIS and
don't get me started.
No, I don't know enough about it. I've seen the TikTok.
Don't get me started.
No. You can scream, go for it.
No, I might freak out the pugs that are finally asleep at my feet.
Yeah, I've got it. I'm just thinking, okay, and I with NDIS, now this is another thing. I can't get NDIS.
Okay.
But also, I'm too high functioning. There's a friend of mine would say, why can't you get more support? Like, and I said, I've been through this. I went to a hospital once to try to get into a psych ward. This was when I was 44.
Mm-hmm.
And I waited for 6 weeks, and I met with the head psych, and he said, you are too high functioning. The fact that I could bathe myself, dress myself, go to the gym.
Oh, wow.
And every service I went to said the same. They said, we're full to capacity. Because I do all the basics.
Yeah.
That's it for me. Now,
that's shameful. That's shameful.
Well, it's like, but look, he was at least being honest. As an
Yeah.
autistic person, I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
I would rather that, okay, I can work with that. That then I will stop trying, and it was good I did, because rather than trying and people going, you know what I mean?
Getting the runaround and going in that vicious cycle. Yeah.
And that because things are practical, things are structural, things are about money. It is bricks and mortars and people. I understand that. Having worked high level with government and working on projects and grants, and also being part of giving community grants, I understand. So that is helpful. So that teaches me, all right, well, what can I do that, and I do have a good psychologist through Open Arms. Open Arms is part of the Veteran Affairs, which is for anybody that is in the defence or is a child or married to someone in Defence Forces.
Okay.
So it's free. I didn't know about it until somebody put me into it. Now, as I'm a child, my dad was in the Navy for 20 years, and obviously that's a whole lot of other stuff we can talk about. But yeah, that has been, and they're amazing. They've been one of the best psychologists because they're trained in CPTSD.
Yeah.
And they're really, really good. And it's, so I'm lucky. I'm very lucky, but I must admit there are days where I'm like, it is, it's not always easy, but we all have the same. We're all on the journey. The meetups have become, I can't keep the meetups going because the needs of my members, not all of them, but I've had conversations, and I say this with respect, where they'll ask me millions and millions and millions and millions of questions, which is what I would do, because they want to know exactly what the meetup's going to be like.
Okay.
Because from a neurodivergent perspective, they want to know exactly who's going to be there, what is going to be the music, will I be safe? And I got to a point, because I'm quite empathetic and I'm trying to, and they, oh my God, I actually don't have capacity here. Yeah. And you can't put in a boundary because they get really upset. I'm like, this isn't something I should be doing as an individual. That's why I'm going to the city of Melbourne. I'm trying to structure something that I could create, but with support. Yeah. So that I don't get drowned. I don't have autistic, because I have a lot of autistic burnout. Yeah. So I can function, but if people start loading me up with all their personal needs, I'm out. I'm out for a long time.
And it's hard because anybody, it does, and that situation, it's hard because you literally cannot predict what's going to happen in any scenario. So, it's really hard because you've got people who are wanting that safety of having that reassurance that everything's going to be okay. But on the flip side, as much as you want to be able to give them that assurance that yes, everything is going to be okay, we can't predict that. And so, and so
we're in public.
Exactly. And so you kind of don't want to risk throwing yourself under the bus,
Oh, it's and I've got people angry with me, and then there is no shame in any of this because I've done the same thing. But when people are triggered and anxious, communication, they don't know they're doing it. So it's not like I'm judging them or anything. But my levels of stress got to a point, am I people pleasing? And I'm like, you know what? I am not trained, but we're going in public. Other people are drinking. The whole concept was we just go out, have a dance, adult spaces.
Yeah.
Nah, not going to do that anymore. And also queer adult spaces.
Yeah.
We're not talking straight adults.
Yeah.
We're talking queer.
Yeah.
So, I can't help you if someone walks past with their butt showing.
Yeah.
And does something really, we are in the gay world here, people.
Yeah.
So is that tension between, you're adults, but you're not. Yeah. So I'm all right with that, though. I'm glad I did it. It was good for a couple. I learned. All of it's learning, and this is what I will say to people. Give it a go, but don't once it's not working, shut the door.
Yeah.
But it's not a failure, it's a learning. And what it's helping me learn is, how can I structure this better? How can I do it so I'm not, and also I'm not doing it to save people. I don't like that. I just did it because I was bored. I wanted to go out and I don't have a crew.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it.
And I also think, or what I've noticed as well in the community with invisible illnesses and chronic illnesses and disabilities, is a lot of us tend to be people pleasers, and it drains us very, very quickly. And if we do end up trying to put those boundaries in place, you start to get that feeling of guilt for doing so, even though for our own health we should be doing it and we should not be feeling guilty for doing so. If we do put that boundary up, or well, I know for myself, if I end up saying no to someone because I need to for my own health, I feel so guilty for doing it.
Yeah, I struggle with that too. I agree with that, and that's one of my biggest anxieties and shame. But because I'm a socially brave queer, I will put, and also I think it's a bit sexist. Like, men seem to be all right, being very clear, and I've always had, like, on a communication level, not always, this is generalization.
Yeah.
But, okay, let me rephrase this. People, because I have met women like this, people who are direct, don't have time for chit chat, are my favorite kind of people.
Yeah. Just to the point.
To the point, I need this. Oh, not rude.
Yeah.
But like, and give clear boundaries. Really love it. It's the people, like people, even with friendships, like some people will be like, oh, like I had this one person go, oh, it's been a long time between catch-ups. So my expectation is, I don't know what they want. I haven't spoken to them for 6 months. Now, my autistic brain, I hate it when people do that because it makes me really anxious because I don't know what they want. What do they want?
Yeah.
Like, they're not saying, we are going to meet. Okay, we haven't met for a while. What are you doing Saturday? Let's meet this time.
Yeah.
To me, that would be clearer. So when people are, there's a social cue that person's giving me, and I don't know what that cue is. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So I just ignore it because so when people are clear, that's really wonderful. But people aren't. People are really incredibly. I've got it. I'm. So with the autism underneath all this as well is a deep understanding and love of human complexity. It's not like I can't see the complexity. And that is another thing. Do you have this where you can see a room? You can see how it's operating. I can see exactly discomforts. That's why people like me, because I can immediately work out, oh, what's happening here? Oh, there's something going on here. Yeah.
I've always been, up until I lost my sight, I was always the observer.
Oh, sorry.
No. It's only just recent. It's only, it's okay. It's okay. No. It's okay. But I have always been, and even now I still am, because I've still got my other senses. And so I'll sit back and listen. But I've always been an observer.
Yes.
I'm not an extrovert. I'm very introverted. And so I've always been the type to sit back and observe and just listen. So I don't really get involved in a lot of conversation. So yeah, that's what I kind of find for myself, because if I go out, I get so drained that I end up taking days like in hibernation away from the world to try to recover from it. So yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. And I think it's, no, exactly. And with me, I think people think I'm sneaky. I have been told that. Because I'm quite good, actually, and that could be because of all my training with public relations to go and talk. But all the time there's someone inside sitting, the quiet person, the child, who's always been taught to shut up and watch. I watch all the dynamics. So I'm watching everything, and that's how I make decisions around business or strategy. I can hear things, and that's why I've been able to go see an opportunity.
Yeah.
But then people will go, "Oh, you've played us or something." I'm like, "No, I'm not." It's just I observe things, I pick up on things, and but
Oh, don't know what that's doing.
does anybody want to ask questions? I don't know if anyone. I don't know how this works. You, Sarah, tell me.
Okay,
do
so
people get to ask questions?
I was
Yeah.
going to ask. So, and I hope it's not offensive.
No.
But how do you find autism being in the queer, in the queer community?
Oh, that's a good question. No, I don't find that offensive. Something I think about a lot. Look, because I'm largely I am pansexual, but my large majority of it's lesbians. So let's keep it simple.
Yep.
So my world is pretty lesbian, sapphic, queer women, and being I guess an ex-gen, I grew up on that staple of the L word, which is all about drama, intense relationships, connection, gossip, just chaotic. Yeah. And that is something I think we all joke about, but we also play out.
Yeah.
And I know this because I've been to a lot of gay events, so lesbian events, and I see patterns. And I see the same pattern when I was 30, and it's still playing out with young people now.
Yeah.
And we call it lesbian drama. So how it plays out for me is I'm aromantic, which means don't give me flowers and teddy bears. So for a lot of people, especially because lesbians are mushy, even lesbians, if they look a bit tough, mask presenting lesbians.
Yeah.
They have souls. They're deeply romantic. And here I am, like, I don't like teddy bears. So yeah, I'm horrible today. Especially in that world where everything is hyper.
Yeah.
Now, I don't see it like that. I see it as unhealthy. I think U-hauling is unhealthy. So U-hauling is a term where people just meet. They have a very long date. Like sometimes in the lesbian world, a date can last. We all joke about it, the long date that lasts all day. Now, to me, that's horrific.
Yeah.
I do not want to date for a whole day. I can do an hour at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so that's problematic. There is a real pressure with dating to speed things up. Now, I think the person who invited me to their birthday party liked me.
Yeah.
But you've got to tell me.
Got to be direct.
Yeah, and they were very confused. They're thinking, but I'm also like, that cost me $100 and I don't have $100. I said to them, you know what? Me spending $100 is showing you I like you and value you, because I haven't been to a restaurant in like 4 years. Like, I don't have that kind of money. I had to save for that.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't want to. I nearly wanted to say I can't do it.
It's tough on the disability support pension. Like, people just don't understand that you literally only get enough to just survive. It's
so dating
hard.
is,
yeah.
And also a lot of I guess lesbians are like any other dating. It's the same thing. What do you do for a living?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate that question.
So do I.
But thankfully, I've got my Socially Brave Queer Hubs. That's a good mask. And I do things.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to talk about my money with you. I don't know you. I'll tell you that on in a year's time. You'd be lucky.
Yeah.
The other thing about the whole lesbian world, I mean, I'm talking about me, so I don't want to be generalized. This is my experience.
Yeah.
The other thing is someone might be flirting with me. This has happened. And I'm just not flirting back because, I'm very I used to be a big flirt. I had the borderline personality disorder, definitely ruled my life in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
I was a completely different person. But that's what I was just acting out again. But my authentic self, since now I've found that, is actually no. I do really need to get to know someone quite well before I form romantic connections, and that's got a
Yeah.
word called demi. Now, look, I'm lucky in the queer world. Like, unlike straight world, in queer world, we have a lot of labels.
Yeah.
Now, people go, oh, the labels, they roll their eyes. But I find them quite useful as a 54-year-old. So I didn't know what night. I knew I was non-binary, but I didn't have that word. And then the young people come along. So thank you, young people. I'm going to take that word. I like it. That makes sense.
Definitely changed things. Yeah.
I'm not hating on this. This is useful. The other thing is being asexual is also part of the because that is because it's LGBTIQA.
Yep.
A is asexual. Oh, cool. There's another word called Bambi. This is very young. This is like 19-year-old speak. And I went, oh, what's a Bambi? And apparently a Bambi is like someone who just likes cuddles. And I went, I think I'm a Bambi.
Oh, well, I learned
nice.
something new. Oh, there you go.
I'm happy to be a Bambi.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is hard. And it with my last relationships, it put me in danger as a disabled person.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize. Now, when I didn't realize that I could say no, and they had a lot more resources than me, and I was just pushed very fast. So going back to the L word, so U-hauling, moving fast, suddenly finding myself dependent. Now, I think a lot of disabled, bisexual, queer women find themselves, and queer men find themselves in a position where they're reliant of a relationship.
And vulnerable.
It's really, and vulnerable. And I think straight disabled people as well. So it's the same. My experience with my ex was very traumatic. It still impacts me badly. I mean, I'm hoping one day I wake up and I'm over it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would try, and I said over and over, I want to live on my own. I want to live on my own. They were like, but you don't look disabled. You know, and because I worked in HR as well, I had to work. So I was forced back into, well, I wasn't forced, but it was coercive control.
There was that pressure, that element of pressure to do it, yeah.
And not talk about my disability. They said, do not talk about it.
Right.
We had to present. So I think they had a condition which is under the neurodiverse umbrella called narcissism. So when I say narcissism, I'm not saying that you are a bad person because you have narcissism.
Yeah.
Narcissism generally comes from a place of trauma, and it definitely, in this person's place, they were coming from trauma. And that was the problem. Trauma bonding is very common. And if you watch any movie about lesbians, it's the same thing. They fall in love. It's very quick. It's all spicy at the beginning.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're enmeshed. And bang, it's all happening, and then chaos. And I must admit, that's not all lesbian relationships. I know a lot of lesbians have been together 20 years, live very normal, ordinary lives. But like straight people, we also experience domestic violence. And we are like straight people. We are human. So we have the same problem. People are shocked. They think we're just all walking around unicorns and rainbows, but no, we are, and statistically that there's proof of that, and there's more work being done around that. And I have no shame in that. I'm still there are unhealthy dynamics, but that's hard. But now I know that I'm autistic. But I've been talking about and struggling this year a lot about it, because that was another thing with my meetup group. It was mates, not dates, but then everybody fell in love with each other.
Yeah.
And then for the people that didn't want that, and I didn't want that, it became unsafe.
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute, I can't control this. I'm in a lesbian space.
Yeah.
We live for this. Everyone wants. So I went, you know what? This is not going to work.
Yeah.
They want the drama.
Yeah.
That's cool. But it is hard. And I wonder, how am I going to meet someone? Firstly, I don't want to live with the person.
Yeah.
Every lesbian that I've met so far who seems attracted to me wants me to move in with them the next day.
Yeah.
So I have to wait to meet someone who doesn't want that.
Yeah.
Also, I am ashamed of being on a disability, and I don't know how to bring that up, with someone. I know I hate that sense that I'm going to be looked down on, or I'm scared that person has more money and they want to do. I can't afford this. That was the big argument I had with my ex, because they're like, well, I want to do this. I'm going, no, I refused. We were 50-50, but that meant I got, they went overseas. I didn't. It's not that's not how the world works. You're meant to go with your partner. So, yeah, it's a weird, and also, even if I went out with someone like myself, we'd probably drain each other.
Yeah.
We trigger each other. I don't know how that's going to work out, but a lot of people who are neurotypical struggle with dating. So,
Yeah, I have, because I'm on disability pension myself. And when I decided to try to be brave for a little while, which it didn't work for me because I got too scared, I actually wrote a spiel or a disclaimer about myself. So if somebody started talking to me and they showed interest, I literally just sent them the disclaimer, which was, because I just wanted to tell them straight out, I'm on disability support pension. I don't have the means to do fancy things. I don't want someone to pay my way, etc., etc. This is why I'm on the disability support pension. So if you want to walk away guilt-free, go for it. And, because I just felt so, I felt that shame as well that, I was going to get judged and people going to think, oh, she just sits at home all day and does nothing. Which isn't the case. I don't sit at home all day and do nothing because I get bored. I have to always do something that's stimulating my mind. Like always.
Like creating this wonderful space, which, people get paid for.
Yeah.
And which I do too. I think the thing is, what was another, I've had people write to me, go, how can I get over your boundaries?
Yeah.
People form crushes on me because I think now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the more you say no to people, the more they like you. So that's my world. And it's not because I'm
it becomes it almost becomes like a challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like the manager at work. No, this isn't a power struggle. I'm telling you. And then they trigger me and, oh, boy.
Yeah.
That person, because they did it like at midnight, oh, boy.
Yeah.
Did I? But the thing is, our scene is quite small. It's not like I can go and disappear into the hundreds of thousands of other clubs.
Yeah.
We are like a tiny community.
Yeah.
So there's about 10 people now that I have to avoid, and I feel anxious.
Oh, right. Okay.
I see them.
Yeah.
Because of nothing aggressive, but where it's become a conflict.
Yeah.
Because they have not heard or respected. And I've got, oh, no, that's not happening. Or when people touch me, and I don't like people touching me with that. Now, in the queer world, we are lucky. We talk a lot about consent. Consent's a big thing. But I think also, let's say the plus side, I have met some lovely people, not on a deep level, but I'm beginning to find that I am attracting people who are in the same boat as me, who have the same struggle. So I'm happy with friendship, to be honest. I'm at an age, look, I had a very, very, very healthy and colourful, intimate life in my 20s and 30s and 40s. I don't mind if this part of my life, it's not about that. It's not a driver anymore. And to be honest, but I'd like to have friends. I'm hoping that all those people that aren't talking to me at the moment get over it and we can just get over it. That would be nice.
Yeah.
It's more friendship for me. I would, when you see groups of people or hear groups of people, here, and you're like, oh, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Just sit and have lunch.
Yeah. It would be nice, but at the same time, it's kind of also daunting. Like the thought of it, is also just draining. Just thinking about it is just, Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me want to vomit.
Mm.
So I have to live with these two truths, which is exhausting. Radical acceptance helps me a lot. I just go, this is, and also compassion.
Yeah.
And also going, you are delightful, Charlie. You are articulate. You are fun. When you're up for it, you can do it, but you don't always have to do it. And you don't owe anyone an explanation.
So
You know?
true. Very, very true. You hit the nail on the head with that one.
And yeah, I'm a chatterbox, but that's why I do have friends though. I do have people I talk to. They're all online. And that's good. The online stuff. But I'm actually catching up with someone I haven't seen for a while. I do appreciate that. It's always nice to go out and have a bit of a natter about stuff. I think it's a weird world living like this. Do you find that, because everybody's out talking, so things are happening, but they get to move through it a lot quickly because when you're just living, it's all happening. But when you're not, we are living, but we're not living like that.
We're existing. I feel like for me, and that's the way that I kind of describe my life sometimes, is that I feel like I'm just existing within my four walls.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, I was surviving. I was surviving definitely when I was masking and had my career.
Yeah.
That was horrific. I can't even talk about that time. Maybe when I'm 80, but I just, ugh.
Yeah.
But once I started my journey of recovery, not recovery, but learning, and once I left the career behind and I went on my journey. So basically, when I was 40, I was walked out. I was working for and they walked me out and said, "You can't come back till you see a psychiatrist."
Right.
So I sold everything. My dog died. Sorry. Anyway, they do that, and I've got a new dog. It's fine. And everything just came crashing down, as it does. So when you're masking, now things are very different. So when I was 2010, so really my career was the 90s and 2000s. You did not mention you had anxiety.
No.
If you mention that, you might as well have told them you had a contagious disease. It was like telling people you had herpes.
Yeah. There was that huge stigma.
It was so bad.
Mm.
And I'm like, me being me though, no, I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah.
But everyone made me ashamed of it. And I thought back on that, but it really did deteriorate. And obviously I was not able to work. I was borderline personality disorder, unmanaged, and post-traumatic stress disorder, unmanaged.
Yeah.
Trauma, unmanaged. It's not safe. It's not appropriate. So that's fine. So I did that, but that meant no more salary. Obviously, I'm a high income.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to that. No more career. Also, I had just spent all this time in a government masking. So I remember this one social worker said, until you integrate what happened to you when you were young, and and also to deal with stuff. Around abuse and stuff. And I went, okay. So from the ages of 40 until I got 20, just either on Job Seeker. Oh, that was really bad.
Yeah.
So I'd be on Job Seeker. I'd go and do a contract job, got off that, get my separation form, go to the GP, get the medical form, live on $500 a week, starving. I do remember starving. I remember that. But how I got around that mentally was like, I've got a roof over me. So I'd be living in boarding houses.
Right, okay.
And they're not as bad as they sound. I know. And that was the other thing. I'd have people go, oh my God, boarding houses. Shame of it. Now, if you live in a boarding house, great. You've got a roof over your head.
Yeah.
You've got people who are working in tents. Back then, the shame.
because the stigma is now starting to shift, and mental illness, you know, is more accepted now. People can talk about it depending on the generation. So there are still some generations that if you bring it up, you just, no, we're not talking about it, you know, and it's, you know, they still think, especially the older generations, when it comes to autism and ADHD, you know, I've heard people say, oh no, you know, they're just naughty children. They're just they're just misbehaving. You know, so
it's true. It's true, and I think it's So that's why I was moving around a lot, and I've got lost in the weeds. What was my point? So anyway, so what was my point, Sarah?
So we were talking about boarding houses.
Stigma.
Yes, stigma.
So, and look, and it took me a long time. I'm a very proud person. I'm the first woman in my family to get a degree on my dad's side.
Yeah.
I had 2 degrees. I had been homeless. So when I was 14, I was on the streets, and I had worked my way. I've been homeless since I was 14, pretty much.
Oh, wow.
I worked out over. I don't know the exact number of how many times I moved, but it's a lot. Because I could never stay anywhere. That jobs, but you know that then I just look like a big flaky flake. So,
that must have been scary though, being homeless at 14.
Well, not really. I just hit the gay clubs and I had a great time. Yeah, it was 84. No, it wasn't scary. It was hurtful.
Yeah.
But not. It got more. It's been scary. It was scary in my 40s. It was really scary.
Okay.
No, in my 80s, it's like, great, I'm free. I'm finally out of this horrible place.
Yeah.
I can. I'm actually interviewed on a podcast called Australian True Crime. Because I had an experience that is, you know, that they felt, that involving people that are now well-known people that are now in jail. Yeah. So at that time in my 20s, I was just on this high, I think, of living, being free, being adventurous.
Yeah.
I do remember there was a lot of sex workers at that time in 1984 around Oxford Street in Sydney.
Okay.
People, gay boys and also women would line up. So that seedy side of life was much more visible in the 80s.
Okay.
When you went out.
Yeah.
Now it's all hidden. So, and I remember one sex worker, he came up to me because we're all the same age, like 14, and we've all been kicked out, 14, 16, 17, 18. And it was very corrupt. And if this is triggering, tell me to stop, because I didn't give you a trigger warning.
No, you're right.
Okay, good.
But for anybody else who's listening,
yes.
There is a trigger warning. So if you'd like to hop off and come back on later, you're welcome to.
But I'll be quick. They did say, would you, you should get into sex work. And I just said, no, I'm going to go and get a degree. So that's how so in a way, that pragmatic side of me has always safeguarded me and my thirst for knowledge. So I did go and do that. And then obviously the career happened, and I lived in the neurotypical world of cafes and restaurants and going out and having a job and the career ladder.
Yeah.
But then my 40s was terrifying. That was terrifying because I'm 40, I've lost everything. And as soon as I got the diagnosis with borderline, oh boy, that was terrible. That was so shameful back then. Now it's still got a tint of shame, but it's not as bad as it was because everyone's like, well, we don't treat borderline. It's untreatable.
Yeah.
You hurt animals. I love animals. I would never hurt.
It's so misunderstood. I mean, because I used to be a crisis support worker for Lifeline, and borderline personality disorder, because we obviously had to be taught in different areas of mental health, and borderline personality disorder is so misunderstood. It's just astounding. Yeah.
We're not narcissistic. There's a difference. there is definitely, I have been at the end of a lot of narcissistic people.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference, because I never did anything to make money off people I was always very generous and giving, but I just didn't have boundaries. And I was acting out because of trauma.
Yeah.
I wasn't like it's intentionally, but I also, but it was, it's not healthy and it's very weird. I still have it sometimes. I do split still so someone because I can be very bad I'm a bit of an avoidant, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I think you have to be to survive. And but I do get hurt, but I'm not very good at articulating my feelings. So if maybe something happens and someone accidentally treads on one of those little vulnerabilities, I'll just split and I can find myself cutting off someone and devaluing.
Right.
So I've got to be kind of mindful of that, because I will say I'm over the borderline.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like it doesn't control me anymore. I am the most, like in the past, I used to be very reckless, put myself in very unsafe positions. I was just a very impulsive person. I am the opposite. And that's why I thank my autism.
Yeah.
Because I think my autism has always been, no, you need structure. Everything needs to be where it needs to be. I don't go out at night. I do not, unless I'm going to something. I don't like deviating from that would be another horrible thing. Dating me would be so boring because I like my routine. And I don't want to change my routine.
Yeah.
And
I'm routine orientated as well.
Yes.
And everything has to be planned. It has to be, people think I'm weird because everything has to be in my calendar on my phone. It also has to have alerts. So one day before, 1 hour before.
Yes. Or I'll forget it.
Yeah, same. That's why I do it. Otherwise, you've got I can't do that. I'll remember that later. I'll put it in later. I can't do that. Can't do it.
Because something might happen that'll trigger me.
Yeah.
Like something might upset me, life is triggering, and then suddenly I'm down some rabbit hole, or I'll have an interest, or something will just get me, I need to advocate or something. I don't know. So but with the borderline and PTSD, I was chaotic, but I knew that I was watching myself watching my behavior, going, this is wrong.
Yeah.
This isn't respectful. You are not communicating in a way that is, there's what's wrong here. So I've always had that mindfulness of, and I'm glad that I got all that resolved. And but it has come at a cost, which my career was my everything, because all my family, I was a snob. Let's just say that. I'm not now. All work is important. Because obviously I lost my career, I had to do menial kind of jobs.
Yeah.
And that was hard, I must admit. I'm not going to lie. But what it taught me is all work is important. However, there is some pride that I had, because obviously I would hear ministers with my speeches, or I'd give them devices to help them with their talk.
Yeah.
Like I was able to do things that had great impact on people, and that gave me joy. But I'm not letting go of that. But what I did this year on a smaller scale, by going to the council and getting that campaign started, that gave me a lot of joy.
Yeah.
And that took skill. And I went, so those little things, but it's not my whole being. It's also okay that, like you, I've got to lie on the couch for a month before I'll go out again. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
But it's certainly a ride. And also the aging, then you start including age. Like being in my 50s, it's very different from how I'm dealing with things in my 20s, 30s, 40s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now it's like, oh crap, I'm getting old now. Like, what's going to happen? Am I going to deteriorate? Am I going to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a real fear as well, because I'm about to hit my 40s, and you know.
They're a baby. But yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm minimizing.
No, you're all right. You're all right. But it's, you kind of, every time you get to that next stage, it's just like, what's going to happen in this decade? Like, I kind of look back at the last decade because so much has happened and I have deteriorated. I've lost my eyesight. And then I'm kind of just like, most people are like, oh, it's awesome turning 40. And I'm just like, is it? Like, do you know what I mean? Because I'm just like,
Yeah.
what's going to happen next? Like, is it going to get worse? Are things going to stabilize? Are they going to come out with this magical new medication? It's quite daunting.
I agree. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, because I've been lucky where I've seen most of my life, there has been services, stability, and I'm lucky that I'm on a disability pension. I think trying to get on disability pension now would be a lot harder.
Oh,
and
it is.
It was hard when I did it.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to be fired I had to go through the trauma of being thrown back in.
Yeah.
And spat out. I must admit that was pretty, like, the system has so many lovely ways of just re-traumatizing and abusing you.
Yeah.
For, like, just the fact that it's not my fault, and also rewarding the people that created the damage in the first place.
And that's the problem is, there's so many people who legitimately need to go on the pension, but because there's those few people who defrauded the government by doing it, like, fraudulently getting the disability support pension, they ruined it for everybody else because then they had to make it so much harder to get it. And so the people who legitimately need it, the criteria just got so much harder. And, I got mine back in 2010. And it was so difficult. It took so long. I had to go see so many different doctors. Then the doctors had to redo their reports to see if there was any improvement, etc., etc. And it was just a vicious cycle. And then when I finally got that yes, I was just like, oh, finally. It was just, it was just like trying to fight a losing battle.
And disability insurance, because I did get that as well, that's not much better. And actually, when they did give it, it's through your super.
Okay.
And I did, but it was the same thing. But they said, we're not going to give it to you in a lump sum. We're just going to, every year you have to apply for it.
All right.
And I applied for the first 3 years, but this year I said to my psychologist, it's so triggering. I mean, it's a lot of money, but this is how bad it is.
Yeah.
I said, I actually am not going to do it. And also, I thought, I can't do any of my advocacy work. They'll just go, see, you can work. Well, you know what? This, even though it's money, I get it. A lot of people will go, you should have done it.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I just could not do it
You
for
got to
another
put
3
yourself.
years.
You got to put yourself first.
And I said to them, I said, this is just triggering. Every year it would trigger me. Every year we would have the same battles. They kept changing the goalposts. I actually said at the beginning, I said, you know what? I actually don't think I want to keep going with this. They rang me and convinced me to keep going. They said, don't worry. Once you get it, it'll be just one little piece of paper and then you'll keep getting it. No, it changed. It went from, we know your psychologist is not a medical, my clinical psychologist is not a medical practitioner, so you need to get a psychiatrist.
And and they're cheap to see.
And also, I said, look, you understand my disability means bringing up stuff. Like when my back wasn't broken, my leg wasn't broken. I don't want to do that. I'm trying to recover.
Yeah. And it's re-traumatizing. Every time you have to go through that, you're having to relive it.
Yes. So I just had to make this. And for me, I mean, I'm like, oh, well, it's fine. But I really had to let go. Look, I'm a bit of a bourgeois, see? And look, who doesn't like having a little bit of extra money to buy themselves nice makeup?
Yeah.
But we're not allowed. if you are disabled, you are not allowed to want nice things.
Yep.
You can't look nice. How dare you look nice? And you just got to live in squalor and have no taste.
Yeah.
Till you are worthy for us to all agree that you are, So I do like pushing back and going, no, I live in community housing and my house is very nice, thank you. I am not a hoarder. And I'm not a meth addict.
Yeah.
And no judgment against someone who takes meth, but I don't take it. In fact, drugs, I've never really been addicted.
Yeah.
We can't talk about it. We're on TikTok. But, I think it's like, it's all the BS, but I'm having my ex also got government grants, I talk about this on my podcast. I just recently got interviewed by another podcast called Everyone's Got an Ex.
Okay.
It's a Mamma Mia. It's actually a really good podcast. I don't know. People like to listen to horror stories about their exes. I do. Anything. Yeah. So I approached
I think I'm going to have a look.
Oh, it's really good. I mean, not all of them are triggering. Some people just talking about having an ex.
Yeah.
But I obviously talk a lot about my ex because I'm a queer intimate abuse. I'm an advocate. I want people to be awake when they have relationships. So anyway, they worked in a recruitment, but how they got money, they basically would put how people put fake ads up in Indeed and Seek?
Yes.
So it'd be like a job ad, but there's no job.
Yep.
So people will ring, and what the call centre person, my ex ran these call centres. I found all this out because it came out in the Courier Mail and a big investigation thing.
Okay.
So I did do, before the investigation came out, they wanted me to work so bad, even though I couldn't. They said, okay, we'll work on my call centre. So I worked for them for a month until I worked out what they were doing.
Okay.
So what they were doing was, so people would ring desperate for work.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like a few people. I'm talking about hundreds of people would ring every day.
Yeah.
But the idea was to get them into a certificate 1 or a 2 course, like in food handling, or into like a sort of entry-level job.
Yeah.
So the training means you had low-level education because you can't get big. So people thinking they're applying for a job are actually being asked questions about their education, if they could get into this training. Now, the training was free. So people are thinking they're doing this 10-day course, and then at the end of the 10-day course, they're going to have a job.
Yeah, right, okay.
And there's no job.
Oh, wow.
But so every course, it's $4,000, $3,000, went back to the recruitment agent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, this happens all the time in the sector. So these governments put together programs. That program is funded to help people who have disabilities, people who have trouble finding work. So the RTO, the Registered Training Organisation, they're not allowed to do that.
No.
They're just allowed to advertise their courses. But
yeah.
So it's a practice that happens all across Australia. Now, they got caught out by the Courier. It happened a long time ago. That's why I'm talking about it. I feel safe now.
Yeah.
But it took like a Courier Mail full-on investigation, 3, like a big lift out with photos and big expose day to shut them down. And that's when I left her. But she ended up using my disability insurance to cover her mortgage anyway.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
That's narcissism.
Yeah.
I've never done that. A borderline personality person, maybe I have, but I've never. I, as a person with borderline personality disorder, have never ripped off a person on a disability.
Yeah, no. Couldn't do it.
Or defrauded the government. Now, this is my point. This person now lives in a mansion. She's not alone. They were like they're all there. I met all these people, And it wasn't until I've left and I'm way out of it going, this is people that are just, job agencies do the same thing. So, when you're on Centrelink and they force you to go to those stupid job agencies.
Yeah.
They're not for you. All the money goes to the CEO, and that CEO has a lovely life, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So if you took all those government organisations that are geared towards vulnerable people,
yeah,
and you went into the lifestyle of the people running it, they're the people ripping off the government. That's my point. And we need to wake up to it. And I'm really hoping we start, especially with what's happened with NDIS.
Yep.
That's a really good template of, and I'm like, the shenanigans, I've seen it firsthand, and it makes me so angry. And you know what? It's the government. The government allows this. And I definitely am hoping with young people, especially there's more interest in the Greens. No one's perfect, but the Greens have helped me with my community housing, and so far I'm going okay. They let me walk into their office. They wrote a letter for me. No one else did.
No, that's
Everyone
good.
Else So, okay. I am hoping that there's a movement towards more transparency. What do you think? Do you think there's going to be a movement towards more transparency in the sector?
I hope so. I'll believe it when I see it. Just because I'm having my own personal battles with NDIS at the moment. So I ended up contacting my local MP, who then said this is a federal thing. So they then passed it on to the federal MP. They have then now launched an investigation for me because I've been calling for months and months and they never return my calls. I finally then got an appointment. They never called me. So I just couldn't get any help whatsoever. And it was just like I was just being ignored, like I didn't exist. And so I ended up just being left with no choice but to reach out for help. And then not long after the federal MP got involved, after they filled out a form for me, I then got an email from NDIS saying that they've got the paperwork and they're starting the investigation. I'll hear from them soon. So,
which means you'll hear from them in a year's time.
Yeah, I was going to say soon in whose time? My time or their time?
It is very interesting being caught up in the navigation of the system has been my biggest learning. And I think you really need to learn how to surf the system. And my heart goes out because I'm on a Facebook group page for people that live in public housing, community housing in my state. And obviously people are under huge, like I'm lucky, I don't have children.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine this with children. I don't know if you have children, but I think, thank God I made that choice not to have kids. Oh my gosh. Because it's hell out there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
People don't, and they don't understand the system. Also, the system makes it very hard to understand.
It does.
Community housing's horrific. And I think, and there's been studies done on that. So again, a sector that's aimed towards most vulnerable, disabled, and I'm lucky because I'm not intellectually disabled.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I have so many, I just can't even imagine what it's like for some of my neighbours who live in this.
Yeah.
Who have brain damage I can't even imagine being a non-verbal person having to deal with this system, which I think neurotypicals invented for their love of paperwork. You know, they seem to really love paper.
Absolutely. And the problem is there's so many services available, but that people don't know about them and they're not going to tell them about it. They're not going to advertise it because then that means that they've got to give away money. They've got to do the work. And, and that's where I think we need more opportunities for advocacy for people. So they can sit down with someone and they can say, right, this is all the services that are available and this is how we can help. And there's not enough of it.
I think the issue too is like having worked in government. I mean, I had a long career in it. So what people don't understand with government is the way that the culture is, it is all very much aimed at what the minister wants.
Yeah.
So you will have people who are young and they're graduates, all very passionate, but you'll get to that point where you go, oh, wait a minute, this isn't about the community. I mean, I've worked on campaigns like with Indigenous communities. You need to be very, 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 very diplomatic and also extremely sensitive.
Yeah.
But you'll have your boss going, well, no, keep trying. And I'm like, no, they said no, but they're not listening.
Yeah.
They don't care because everything's coming from the top down.
Yeah.
Whereas government should be from the bottom up.
Yeah. Totally agree.
And that's why I have, and also everybody's worried about they'll stay in a job they hate because they want their long service leave.
Yeah.
You get lots of people in government who are incompetent but can't be moved. Also, technology is not, it is just, I have had so much experience in the government and also the not-for-profit sector. I wouldn't work. You could not pay me to ever work there again.
Yeah.
I'd rather work for like something as soulless as Amazon because at least they've got a system like that they pay for.
That's it.
And everybody's got to work. You can't just, I mean, I wouldn't want to work for Amazon either. They're horrible. But I just feel like I've been around the block a long time, and I guess I am anxious at the moment. Part of me is feeling like, okay, the world's imploding. People are a lot more educated than they were 20 years ago. Like, we certainly are a lot more educated.
Oh, for sure.
TikTok, I think TikTok's quite good. I've learnt a lot about it. Can be used for good or it can be used for bad. If you go on the good side of TikTok, it is extremely useful. But yeah, I think there's a lot of things, but I try not to think about it too much because, the world is in a really weird space. But I will say, because there's people that have been impacted on high income, like if you're a high income and you can't get housing, that's actually not a bad thing for people who are poor, because then you've got a majority of people that are very educated, working hard, high income, who can't get housing. That might mean there'll be political change. That's
exactly.
my hope.
Yeah. Which is sad that it takes that to make change.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm autistic and numbers it is a numbers game.
Yeah.
It's patterns. And that's the thing, that I think all this breakdown that's happening, but I don't know. I got really excited. We've got this dude. He's called Purple Pingers. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's on TikTok.
No.
He's huge. Absolutely huge. Young people love him. He's funny. And he's going to be a socialist MP for federal government. And you know what? I think he's going to do it because he's got this huge following on TikTok. He's loved because he goes and shames landlords, and he's actually made real change he's actually quite he knows how to communicate in a funny way that young people like, but he also goes out and makes changes, and he's not scared of landlords. And
I might have to have a look.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. And also he's good because he said, look, I don't want to join the Greens. I've got a lot of respect for them. But the thing is, I don't want anybody in government who owns houses. You can't own a house or be a landlord and work in government, because he wants to change the laws around housing.
All right, okay.
That's practical. I think, he's got a point. He probably, he's not going to get a lot of people, but maybe, I don't know, I can't wait to see what he does. So that kind of movement makes me excited.
Yeah.
Because this is what we got at the moment, especially we're all grieving about what's just happened. You can talk about, I only know what I'm seeing, but it looks like that it's gone to, like, people have been in the disability sector have been conned from what I can see. Yes. And yeah.
It's been a long con.
It is, by the government who promised change.
Yeah.
Now, if the Liberals had done it, do you think there would have been would you feel different? The Liberals said, like, yeah, we're expecting that. Yeah, I think Labor's done us all dirty.
That's usually how it goes, unfortunately.
Anyway.
But I won't go into that one because otherwise you'll have me rambling for hours.
Well, you can invite me back if you do want to talk about it.
Absolutely. So where can if people would like to reach out, where can they find you?
Well, I'm on. Well, does anyone have any questions now? Who's online? I'm happy to answer a question if you've got time. I'm happy to.
If you want to have, I can't see, but if you want to have a look in the comment section.
Well, thanks, Sarah. Thank you. Wait a minute. Look. Oh my God, you are cute. Who's cute? Me or Sarah? I think we're both cute.
I'll take it as both of us.
Okay.
We're both cute.
Freddie. Thanks, Freddie. Alfred 5. That's no one else has any questions, so.
Well, if they want to, because I will upload it and post the video, and I'll also tag you in it as well, so they can post any questions or comments or anything like that. Yeah.
And I think my handle is, oh God, is it Charlee 9484? Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
But will it come up in the live?
So it will do when I upload it. So when I tag you, they'll be able to click on it and it'll take them to your handle.
Look, my TikTok is a mess. It's more like a journal. So, I understand with TikTok, you got to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And my TikTok has got no sort of, sometimes I'll do.
I love your
about
TikTok.
My dog. It just is whatever I'm feeling on the day.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a diary.
Yeah.
So that when I'm older, I can go, oh, there I was.
Yeah.
I existed. I'm not invisible.
No, I love
did
it.
Have a life. Thank you. Siggy is my DAC sound. She gets a. They do well. Siggy gets probably the most posts, so I try to. I am in TikTok jail for some reason.
Oh.
I can't get out of 250.
Really?
Some just sit at 0. Yeah, I'm in TikTok jail.
Oh wow.
I don't know why though. I take down things. I look at everything. I try not to do too much on DV.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, maybe they don't want me to. But then I see other sites doing really a lot more.
Yeah.
And about
because it's raising awareness, and I was gonna say there's true crime, which is a lot of them go into like really in-depth detail, that can be quite grisly. So yeah.
I don't get it, but I think I made a mistake. Do you know how you can purchase views? Like I don't know if you know this, but you can boost. I made the mistake of actually paying for that. I think that's why. So because I did that, and yeah. And I did some research, and I found out if you do that, you're stuffed.
I made that mistake too when I first started, because I was told by somebody they made themselves out to be like really reputable. I was new to TikTok because I'm fairly new to TikTok, and they said, oh no, it just boosts the people being able to see your profile so they can choose if they want to like it, etc, etc. You'll probably get roughly around this many people looking at it, and the next thing I get a message from TikTok saying that I'm banned temporarily from just one section for cheating. And I'm like, how'd I cheat? So I sent them in an appeal and I said, how'd I cheat? I don't know what I've done to cheat.
Yeah, TikTok's a weird world. I just go and research.
Yeah.
I just go, but look, I'm not doing it so much because my podcasts, that's where I do most of my advocacy work. So when you go into my site, there's a link tree. And that's where I publish all my podcasts.
Yeah.
They are trigger warnings though, everyone. Like when I talk about, so don't go into it if you're not ready for that. But if you're ready for it, some people love it. They like to hear the juice, trauma talk or trauma podcast. that I feel like we need to talk about this stuff.
Absolutely.
Because then, and I don't do it in a way, I try to be, and also my stuff's more around financial abuse.
Yeah.
Coercive control. Also abuse around the queer community has also very specific forms of abuse. So when I publish, I'll let you know when the next podcast, because I talk about that a lot.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah.
You might not know this, but if you're in let's say you're in a lesbian relationship and one of you is femme and one of you is butch. But then the butch person says, you know what, I want to start painting my nails. And the femme goes, oh, no, you can't do that. I want you to stay butch.
Right.
That's coercive control.
Yeah.
Within a queer relationship.
Yeah.
That happens quite a bit. Or if you're femme and you want to start thinking about looking more butch, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or even just not letting you meet other lesbians. Jealousy is a big thing.
And not allowing you to be your true, genuine, authentic self. Yeah.
Biphobia is a big thing, and panphobia. So there are things we need to discuss, but I understand why queer people would be scared too, because we're already getting so much hate from the straight community. You get a lot of love, but obviously, oh, look, proof you are the devil.
Yeah.
See, you're unhealthy. You have mental health issues. No joke, we have mental health issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've been bullying us.
Yeah.
But I feel brave enough to go, you know what, you can just go and, but yeah, so people can do that. But I think moving forward in my life, as far as my PR thing, it'll be podcasts. And I was reached out to get free media training.
Ah, that's awesome.
As a disability advocate.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yes, I always put my hand up for that because, yes, I do have a PR degree, but I haven't worked for a long time, and I'm rusty.
And why not take it up? If it's being offered, why not take it?
Yes, and I'll share those resources too. So I'll put that on my TikTok because I'm thinking, okay, I can put up things so people, but they're very local. Do you know they're in the States?
Yeah.
So that's something. But, definitely if I will send you information that I think is useful for your community as well.
Oh, that'll be great. Thank you.
Australia-wide, I know they're always asking for people to work on their consultation, be on their working committee.
Yeah.
When I worked in government, I had community consultation committees. I would organise those committees. They exist everywhere. So if you can't get paid, you can still have a voice. Yeah. And I actually think that's better because you're not being paid, which means you're free to say exactly what the truth is.
Exactly. Exactly right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
No, my
pleasure. Thank you. And so just letting you know that we're also doing something new as well, starting, I believe, on Monday. So Taryn, who was my last guest speaker, who's actually one of my friends here in Perth, she lives about 5 minutes away from me. We're actually starting a new series, and it's called The Spoony's Authentic Take. And it's going to be about, we're going to be sharing people's journeys and their questions and their rants, and people can help us respond to them and give their take on it. So we're going to be doing that as a series. So we're going to do an episode every 4 weeks. So that starts next Monday. So that's very exciting.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely look at that. That'll be good. And the more I get comfortable with this technology and stuff like that. But if there's anything on my TikTok you think's of interest, definitely we'll do this again. I feel
absolutely. Absolutely. You've been so fantastic, and I appreciate your time so much and your knowledge. And also sharing your journey. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure everyone who's listening really appreciates it as well. It really helps people to understand more. And as you know, I really believe in raising awareness so the community can understand more about invisible disabilities. That's very important to me and what my channel's about. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come and join us today and doing this podcast with me.
My absolute pleasure. All right, Sarah, so what do I do now?
So what I'll do is I will actually close us off.
Okay.
So just give me a sec. Okay, so I'll disconnect you.
Bye, Freddie.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, Henry Bob.
Bye.
Bob. Bye. Bye, Sarah.
Bye. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today and listening to our podcast about autism and discrimination. We also went into some trauma and PTSD and mental illness that can also go along with autism and the discrimination that goes into that, as well as also the queer world. So I really appreciate Charlee for joining us today. They are absolutely amazing, and would definitely love to have them back. So I really appreciate it, and please like, share and subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye. Mwah.